A rare whale sighting in Barnstable Harbor. The governor is tapping a Cape Codder to help improve the state's economy, and a Barnstable police officer will now work full-time with the town's regulatory division. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Wednesday, September 2nd, 2015. I'm Sarah Mannel. An unusual sighting in Barnstable Harbor this weekend. Town employees Brian Taylor and Tom Lincoln spotted a right whale while working in Barnstable Harbor Sunday afternoon. Taylor was able to capture the video of the baby right whale breaching. As you can see here, the whale put on quite a show. While not unusual to see a right whale off the coast of Cape Cod, it is unusual to see one so close to the harbor and the shore. And thank you so much to our Marine and Environmental Affairs Division for sending us this video. Well, Governor Charlie Baker hopes adding a Cape Codder to his advisory council on economic development will help him better understand the Cape's economy. Baker is tapping Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce CEO Wendy Northcross to join the group.
I am expecting to be appointed by the governor to his advisory council, and that's good because the Cape and the islands need to have a voice because there are nuances to our economy that are very different from Fall River and New Bedford, and even more different from Boston. By their own acknowledgement, the governor's people have said there's the Boston economy and then there's the rest of Massachusetts, and we really have to look carefully at what those differences are. Certainly celebrate them, but also address ways to support all economic activity that fits in our state.
Northcross is currently going through the vetting process and will be appointed to the governor's advisory council on economic development once that process is complete. Well, a measure that would ban single-use plastic bags in Barnstable will be before town council this week. The effort is designed to reduce waste and protect the environment. Under the regulation, certain bags, like those used to wrap meat or fish or flowers, would be exempt from the ban. Council will hold a public hearing on the matter during its meeting on Thursday night. A Barnstable police officer will now be working full-time with the town's regulatory division. Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin gets details from Director of Regulatory Services Richard Scally. We share that interview with you now.
So a couple of things to talk about today. A new position in a new hire made, a Consumer Affairs Police Officer. This sounds like kind of a fascinating job. Tell me a little bit about how this position came about.
Well, I don't know how fascinating it is, but it actually it's a very helpful, and it'll actually bring together lots of different duties that police officers have accomplished or have been doing for our regulatory services department. We've been working on this for the last couple of years with the police chief, and it finally has come to today is the first day for the new officer. It's a Consumer Affairs Police Officer position, and the officer is Officer Steve Esty, and he will be stationed here with an office in our building at 200 Main Street, and pretty much accomplishing all the things individual police officers have been doing over the last number of years for our division here and our departments.
So, what kind of roles and responsibilities are that? What kind of things will Officer Esty be doing?
He would be generally under the supervision of Elizabeth Hartsgrove and myself, in particular, on consumer affairs issues, particularly on the licensed establishments, the alcohol establishments, of course, continuing what Officer Marr used to do. Officer Marr was here for 10 years and worked through the police department, so we greatly appreciated all the work that he did. He changed the course of how we do business here for many, many years. But Officer Esty will be doing those duties, working with the police department on the sting operations that had been done in the past, working with our weights and measures division as well on the safety checks of our taxi cabs and limousines. He'll also be working with the police, the parking division, on the private parking lots and the public parking issues with our parking division. So that's just to begin with. Obviously, he'll also be working with the health division on some investigations as well.
So why is it important to have a police officer in this particular role?
Well, this officer will be available to us daytime and nighttime hours. There'll be kind of a varied schedule. We won't have to request or have an individual officer assigned through separate requests to the police department. He'll be here on a regular basis. It'll also provide a police visibility in our building as well. So he'll be stationed up front near our front counter and provide somewhat of a safety as well as a visibility for the public.
Absolutely. Anything else about that position, about his role, that you would like to get out there to the public?
I just wanted to let the public know that this was a big coordinated effort with the town manager's office and the police department and our division, as well as the town councilors who supported this. So we greatly appreciate that this is finally coming to fruition.
Great. Well, we look forward to the work that Officer Esty is going to do for our Consumer Affairs Division. So let's talk a little bit about the airport rotary. I think one thing is sometimes it's kind of a pain to navigate, but it's not that pretty to look at either. So tell me a little bit about what our role is in trying to improve that a little bit.
Well, this has kind of been a passion of mine the past couple of years, looking at how, and this has been through growth management and public works and the town manager's office as well, kind of encouraging what we call better entrances into the city. And this is kind of that's a gateway into our town, and great visibility and an impression that's made on the public when they see that, particularly tourists that come into our town. So we've decided to kind of coordinate this with a meeting that we had yesterday with growth management, with the Business Improvement District through Elizabeth Wolf-Bain. We also invited Elizabeth Jenkins from Growth Management and C.L. Fanari, who's has great knowledge with regards to landscaping issues and plants.
Master gardener.
She's wonderful. She came in and gave us some advice with regards to what plants should be there. But the big piece of this is inviting Bank of Cape Cod, who is the sponsor for that island, and Mark Scala was a great help in pointing us in the right direction as to how to work with the state, because it's state-owned. It is a state piece of property, so we would need permission to be able to do something with that island. And the proposal will be, and it has not been finalized by any means at all, is for somehow the town to be able to take over that site and be able to landscape it properly.
Interesting. Now, what are some of the ideas? Do you kind of want to mow everything down and make it visible across, or is there some meaning to having kind of that buffer so you can't see the other side of the rotary?
Yeah, well, that's very important because the state does have limitations on what can and cannot be done there. There cannot be any light. There cannot be any tall flag poles, that kind of thing, to obstruct any views to the airport. And also, we do have to maintain light obstruction for cars on the other side of the rotary as well. So you don't want light to be shining through at night from one side to the other. But we did have some suggestions about the kind of landscaping that should be there, kind of a native switchgrass, and perhaps even what CL called a sedum autumn joy, which is more of a flowering plant that doesn't require a lot of watering. So we were very happy to hear about that. But this year we'll start with, primarily in the fall, a cleanup by Executive Landscaping, who's been doing that with the Bank of Cape Cod, and kind of cleaning up some of the area initially before we start planting.
Awesome.
If at all.
Indeed. Well, we're certainly looking forward to seeing at least some aesthetic improvements in that area. Richard, anything else about that project that you'd like to get out there?
This is just the initial stages. Nothing has been finalized at all. We're trying to get the state to agree to these proposals, and obviously we've got a long way to go before that gets accomplished.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Well, Richard, I thank you so much for joining us here on the program. A pleasure to have you on.
Be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will have our weekly golf segment. We'll get a preview of tomorrow night's Town Council meeting with Town Council President Jessica Rapcressetti. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.